April 13, 2015. The courtroom fell into a heavy silence as Jodi Arias stood before Judge Sherry Stevens. The woman who had captivated the nation with her dramatic trial and ever-changing stories was about to hear her final sentence. What the judge handed down that day was just the beginning of an existence that many believe is far crueler than any quick execution. The cameras eventually stopped following her story, but Jodi Arias vanished into a world designed to crush the spirit of people exactly like her. But the world never stopped watching. Jodi Arias received life in prison without the possibility of parole for the brutal murder of her ex-boyfriend Travis Alexander. Two separate juries could not agree on whether she deserved the death penalty, so the decision fell to Judge Stevens. The judge made it absolutely clear that Arias would spend every remaining day of her life behind bars until her natural death.
The court finds the mitigation presented is not sufficiently substantial to call for leniency, and that a natural life sentence is appropriate. It is ordered, the defendant shall be incarcerated in the Department of Corrections for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
But what most people do not understand is that this sentence might actually be more devastating than death itself. Many believe execution would have been real justice, that keeping her alive is somehow merciful. But by the end of this video, I am going to show you exactly why Jodi Arias' daily existence in prison might be a punishment worse than any death row inmate ever faces. Tell me in the comments whether you think she is getting what she deserves, or if the sentence should have been different. After her sentencing, Arias was transferred to the Arizona State Prison Complex in Perryville, located in Goodyear, Arizona. This facility became her permanent home and the place where her real punishment would unfold. She was initially placed in the maximum security Lumley unit, a section of the prison named after a correctional officer who was killed by inmates in 1997. Let that sink in for a moment. The very name of her housing unit is a reminder of prison violence. The cells in Lumley unit are roughly the size of a Mini Cooper, about 86 square feet of concrete and steel. Inside there is a sink, a toilet, a metal bed frame with a thin mattress, and a small desk. This tiny space became her entire world. For the first 2 years of her sentence, Arias lived in maximum custody, which meant 23 hours per day inside that concrete box with almost no human contact. But here is where her story takes an interesting turn. Unlike many high-profile killers who remain in permanent isolation, Arias was eventually moved to close custody and then to medium custody. This means she can now have a cellmate and interact with other inmates outside her cell. Most people would think this is a relief, but for someone as notorious as Jodi Arias, exposure to the general prison population brings its own unique form of torment. Let me walk you through what Jodi Arias experiences every single day. She wakes up in a cell barely larger than a parking space. Every morning is identical to the one before. The fluorescent lights flicker on at the same time. The same metal toilet sits in the corner. The same concrete walls close in around her. There are no windows with views of the outside world. There is no privacy. There is no comfort. In medium custody, Arias has more freedom than maximum security, but that freedom is relative. She can move around the unit at designated times. She can go to the commissary. She can attend programs. She can work prison jobs. But every single one of these activities happens within the confines of razor wire fences and under the constant watch of corrections officers who know exactly who she is and what she did. Arias has held various jobs during her incarceration. She worked in a store warehouse. She served as a porter. From February 2021 until July 2022, she worked as a library aide. More recently, she has been assigned to assist with music programs at the facility. To outsiders, this might sound almost normal, but these jobs pay cents per hour and exist only to give inmates something to do with their endless time. Every interaction she has with other inmates carries weight. In prison, where reputation is everything, Jodi Arias occupies a complicated position. She murdered her ex-boyfriend in a crime that was dissected on national television. Everyone knows her face. Everyone knows what she did. And unlike child killers who are universally despised, Arias exists in a strange space where some inmates are fascinated by her notoriety, while others view her with contempt. According to prison records obtained by news outlets, Jodi Arias has received multiple death threats from fellow inmates. In May 2015, just 1 month after her sentencing, corrections officials intercepted a letter addressed to Arias that detailed a specific threat. The letter stated that an inmate was going to put money on another inmate's books to pay them to harm Arias. This is how prison violence works. Hits can be arranged, debts can be called in, and someone as famous as Jodi Arias makes an attractive target. On another occasion, Arias reported to corrections officers that an inmate had threatened to kill her the same way she killed Travis Alexander. Imagine hearing those words. Imagine living with the knowledge that someone might one day attack her the same way she once attacked Travis Alexander. The psychological weight of that threat never disappears. Arias told officials that the harassment was getting worse by the day. She requested that her recreation time be moved to avoid certain inmates. Prison officials granted the request, but moving her recreation schedule does not eliminate the danger. It just postpones potential confrontations. Every day she walks through the unit is a day she must watch her back. Every meal in the cafeteria is an opportunity for someone to act on their hatred. Every moment of interaction carries the possibility of violence. And here is what makes it even worse. Unlike in maximum security where she was isolated from other inmates, Arias now lives among the general population. She cannot hide. She cannot avoid people. She must navigate a social environment where she is both famous and despised, where inmates might approach her out of curiosity or approach her with violent intentions. Despite her threats and the constant scrutiny, Arias has maintained a relatively clean disciplinary record. She has only one recorded infraction in her entire time at Perryville. In February 2016, Arias became upset because she was denied a haircut by a particular barber she had requested. She called the corrections official who said it was not an offensive term. The report does not specify exactly what she said, but it was bad enough to warrant a disciplinary write-up. This single incident reveals something important about Arias. Even in prison, she cares deeply about her appearance and her image. During her trial, she was observed carefully applying makeup before interviews. She asked detectives if she could do her makeup before being arrested. And years into her sentence, she still requests specific hairdressers and gets angry when denied. For someone who built part of her identity around her looks, the limitations of prison grooming are their own form of punishment. But that one infraction also shows remarkable restraint. Most inmates rack up dozens of disciplinary violations over the years. Fights, contraband, disobeying orders, these are common occurrences in any prison. Yet Arias has managed to avoid serious trouble. Some might say this proves she has learned to control her impulses. Others might argue it shows her manipulative nature, that she has learned how to play the system and avoid consequences. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Former cellmates of Jodi Arias have painted a disturbing picture of her behavior behind bars. Tracy Brown and Donovan Baring, a couple who served time with Arias, spoke publicly about their experience in the documentary Jodi Arias' Cellmate Secrets. Their accounts reveal a woman who has not changed despite her circumstances. Brown and Baring described Arias as highly manipulative. They claimed she used her looks and sexuality to get favorable treatment from male guards. According to them, Arias would flirt with corrections officers and they would give her special privileges that other inmates did not receive. In a facility where every advantage matters, this behavior created resentment among other prisoners. But the manipulation extended beyond the guards. Brown and Baring were initially charmed by Arias. Brown even called her a songbird and said she had the voice of an angel. The relationship grew so close that both women allowed Arias to give them tattoos in prison using makeshift equipment made from mascara and pencil lead. Brown got a bird with a musical note on her calf with Arias's name inside the design. Brown later claimed that Arias had told her she was planning to kill herself and revealed a detailed suicide plan. Brown says she got the tattoo to remember the friend she thought she was about to lose. But Brown now believes the suicide threat was a manipulation, a way for Arias to control her and bind her emotionally. After her release, Donovan Baring ran Arias's Twitter account and served as her connection to the outside world. But the relationship eventually soured. When Baring started talking to Arias's mother more frequently, she began to see inconsistencies in the stories Arias had told. Baring realized that Arias did not care about anyone but herself. She described Arias as someone who would make people suffer if they crossed her. When Baring refused to post something Arias wanted on Twitter and changed the account password, Arias allegedly retaliated. According to Baring, Arias wrote a letter to Baring's wife who was still in prison and had one of her supporters in the UK post negative information about Baring online. Even from behind bars, Arias found ways to punish people who defied her. Unlike most prisoners who fade into obscurity, Jodi Arias remains in the public eye. Through people on the outside, she maintains social media accounts that share updates about her books, her artwork, and even small details like getting a flu shot. In one recorded call, She asked a friend to tweet that she had no hot water at Perryville. This visibility is both a blessing and a curse. It keeps her connected to the world beyond prison walls, but also ensures her infamy never fades. New audiences keep discovering her story through documentaries and TV movies. She isn't just another inmate, she's Jodi Arias, and that identity follows her everywhere. The trial cost taxpayers nearly $3 million. In 2015, she was ordered to pay over $32,000 in restitution to Travis Alexander's family, about a third of what they sought. Still, Arias found ways to make money behind bars, selling artwork online for as much as $2,500. Because the paintings aren't crime-related, they don't violate Son of Sam laws. Yet many are outraged that she profits at all. They believe she's still exploiting the attention her crime created. Each painting sold, each post made on her behalf, keeps her in the spotlight, and for Travis Alexander's family, it means the reminders never stop. Even years later, the story of what happened to Travis Alexander still echoes with pain. He was a man driven by optimism, a friend, a mentor, someone who wanted to uplift others. What ended his life wasn't just a single moment of violence. It was a chain of jealousy, deceit, and emotional chaos that destroyed everything in its path. In court, photos and testimony revealed the reality of that day, not in detail, but enough to leave the jury visibly shaken. They didn't need to see every image to understand the depth of betrayal. For the people who love Travis, justice could never bring him back. His family still carries that loss every single day. And for Jodi Arias, the true punishment isn't just her sentence. It's knowing she can never undo the damage her choices left behind. Arias has not accepted her fate quietly. In October 2017, she filed an appeal of her conviction, but it was delayed due to systematic errors. In October 2019, she tried again, this time citing cumulative misconduct by prosecutor Juan Martinez. She argued that his behavior during the trial had created a media frenzy and prevented her from receiving a fair trial. In March 2020, the Arizona Court of Appeals rejected her appeal. Judge Jennifer Campbell wrote that Arias was convicted based upon the overwhelming evidence of her guilt, not as a result of prosecutorial misconduct. The court acknowledged that Martinez had engaged in egregious and self-promoting behavior, but ruled that it did not change the outcome of the trial. In November 2020, the Arizona Supreme Court declined to review the case. Interestingly, prosecutor Juan Martinez was disbarred in July 2020 for his own misconduct. He had allegedly leaked information to a member of the media he was having an affair with, communicated with a dismissed juror, and engaged in sexual harassment. This gave Arias ammunition for her claims, but it still was not enough to overturn her conviction. Arias has also been in legal battles with her own defense attorneys. She sued her lawyer Kirk Nurmi, claiming he violated her attorney-client privilege by writing a book about the case. Nurmi surrendered his law license, and he publicly stated he did so just to be done with Arias entirely and move on with his life. Recently, Arias started a blog on Substack where she dismisses tabloid rumors and hints at pursuing more legal challenges. She claims that proceeds from her artwork sales are being set aside to finance future legal filings. In Arizona, inmates can pursue post-conviction relief even after all standard appeals have been exhausted. This means Arias could potentially file new motions for years to come, prolonging the legal process and keeping herself in the news. Here is the central truth that most people miss about Arias' sentence. If she had received the death penalty, there would be an endpoint. After years of appeals, she would eventually face execution. The suffering would be prolonged, but it would end. Instead, Jodi Arias faces decades of the same existence. Decades in an 86-square-foot cell. Decades of being threatened by other inmates. Decades of living with what she did. Decades of complete hopelessness. She has no possibility of parole. This means there is nothing for her to work toward. No goal. No light at the end of the tunnel. No matter how many prison jobs she takes, or how much art she creates, or how many programs she completes, nothing changes. Most prisoners cling to some form of hope. Maybe their sentences will be reduced. Maybe they will eventually be released. Jodi Arias has none of that. Her future is absolutely certain. She will die in Perryville Prison, and every day until that happens will be essentially the same. That crushing absence of hope is its own form of torture. Human beings need something to look forward to. We need goals and purpose and the possibility of change. Arias has been stripped of all of that. She once told a reporter after her conviction that she would rather die sooner than later and that she preferred the death penalty to life in prison. She called death untold peace and freedom. Now she must live with the choice that was made for her. Jodi Arias is now 45 years old. She was 34 when she was sentenced. Based on average life expectancy, she could spend another 30 or 40 years in prison. That is 3 or 4 more decades of the existence I have described. 3 or 4 decades in that concrete box. 3 or 4 decades of threats and manipulation and endless sameness. Is this worse than death? Some would argue yes. Death is an escape. Life in prison with no hope of release is the true punishment. Every morning Arias wakes up is another day of consequences. Every night she goes to sleep knowing tomorrow will be identical. She does not get the mercy of an end date. She faces her crimes every single day. Others would say execution would have been more appropriate. They believe monsters like Jodi Arias do not deserve to keep breathing. They think the death penalty provides closure and justice for the victims' families. They argue that keeping her alive costs taxpayers money that could be better spent elsewhere. But here is what cannot be disputed. Travis Alexander's family still grieves every single day. His sisters spoke at the sentencing hearing and described the harassment they have received from Arias supporters. They were even sent disturbing images related to their brother's death. They never expected to be victimized again and again by the trial and its aftermath. Tanisha Sorensen, Travis's sister, turned and spoke directly to Arias in court. She referenced Arias's own journal where Arias wrote that whoever killed Travis deserved to die. Sorensen asked through tears, "What happened to that Jodi? What happened to the person who believed the killer should face the ultimate punishment?" Jodi Arias will never know freedom again. She will never feel the sun on her face without restrictions. She will never have a normal conversation or relationship. She will never escape the consequences of what she did on June 4th, 2008. For the rest of her life, every single day will be a reminder that she destroyed a man who once loved her and threw away any chance at a meaningful existence. This is the reality of life in prison for one of America's most notorious killers. This is what worse than death actually looks like. Do you think she deserves this fate, or should the sentence have been different? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, because in the end, some punishments don't end with death, they begin with it.